Hey guys, it's Rick. I'm back again for another Walt Presents. This time I'm doing Pinocchio. Released on February 7th of 1940, Disney's second picture. But it wasn't always the second picture. Actually, Bambi was scheduled to be number two, but after having problems with the animation, Walt decided after reading the book of Pinocchio, let's put this in production instead. It was supposed to be the third feature, but got bumped up. So the original story completely different. Let me go to my notes here. Original story: Pinocchio was a brat and only learned lessons the hard way. His design was changed to be more human. He had the wooden legs, he had wooden arms, and of course the not wooden nose. But they wanted to make him a lot more sympathetic. And if you don't know the story of Pinocchio, you're probably living on the moon. But the story is Geppetto, a toy maker, and actually wishes for a son, and that's what brings the puppet to life. One of the added things that wasn't in the story as, a, as only a minor character was Jiminy Cricket. Jiminy Cricket was actually killed by Pinocchio in the book, smashed with a mallet, and comes back as a ghost. So Walt made that change by having him the conscious and have him stay around and try to guide Pinocchio in the right way when he's being duped by characters like Honest John and just being taken for a ride for his innocence. This was the very first Disney film to utilize celebrity voices. Pinocchio actually was voiced by Dickie Jones, who was an 11-year-old boy who portrayed, who was most famous for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Geppetto was played by Christian Pub, who was drawn to favor the actor. And Cliff Edwards, a popular singer at the time and played the ukulele, was Jiminy Cricket's voice. As far as the animation goes, you can tell a huge jump and improvement from Snow White. The characters are more fluid looking, more humanistic features. It was a huge jump, uh, just unbelievable from one film to the next. They would use clay models for Pinocchio and Jimmy to have something to reference. They brought in humans uh, models for all of the human characters in the story or anyone that would move around. So it was a really breakthrough in animation. If you've seen how the differences between Snow White and Pinocchio are just amazing and how better it looks. Soundtrack was a huge hit. When You Wish Upon a Star went on to win an Academy Award for Best Song, and Pinocchio won Best Score. And it was the first two official Academy Awards ever won by an animated film. Snow White had had an honorary award, but this was the first animated picture to ever win the big prize. Reviewers agreed it was a marvel to behold, but not all of them felt the same way. When I was doing research on Snow White, I come to find out from an interview with Walt Disney that actually he grew to hate Snow White because when he released Pinocchio, some people thought Snow White was a better film. I don't know what they were thinking. Now, most reviews I found were really well done for Pinocchio, but there were some that didn't care for it, thought Snow White was the better film. It actually kind of made Walt depressed because he was constantly being compared to Snow White, just constantly. He wasn't really happy with that, and it gets worse. Uh, Due to World War II, total failure at the box office. This movie had a $2.6 million budget, was more expensive than Snow White, and ended up losing RKO about $350,000 of their investment. And Walt got pretty depressed about that. It took a re-release in 1945 for it to recoup its losses, and it to become a hit. It actually was re-released like Snow White multiple times at theaters. 1954, 1962, 71, 78, 84, and 92. That brought its total gross up to 65.4 million and 145 million dollars worldwide. I mean, overall, Pinocchio is a great film. I mean, it's one of my favorites. There's a lot of memorable scenes from the Pleasure Island scene where kids are turned into jackasses to Monster of the Whale swallowing Geppetto and the big escape trying to get out. I mean, just everything looks good about this film. There's nothing that is to hate or anything. The characters are perfect, from the bad guys to the good guys. Everything in it is just a beautiful thing to behold. I feel it's a lot more entertaining. Although the dwarfs are good, don't get me wrong, it's no one. I do enjoy that aspect. But for me, Pinocchio is always going to have a special place in my heart. I was a big fan of this as a kid. And it had been 10 years since I'd last seen it, but after watching it again, it really, really just hit the right spot on what I was looking for an animated movie. A couple other little neat facts is when the Walt Disney logo comes up on films, if you really pay attention to it, "When You Wish Upon a Star" is the official song of Disney. It plays in the background when the logo comes up. I think that's a nice little touch. Uh, it's I don't think I ever got to see it in the theater. If I remember as a kid, I might have got to see it once. That part I'm a little fuzzy on. I have to check with my mom. But my wife, who I don't think had ever seen it all the way through, seemed to really enjoy it while watching it. And my daughter, I don't think it really caught her eye because she's not used to like the cell animation as she is more of the, the CGI stuff like a Frozen, which that interests her. I don't think the old stuff really hangs her, but that's okay. It's still a classic. Everyone should enjoy. And if you get time, great Blu-ray with a lot. It does not have the deep special features I was hoping it would, but it's still some good stuff on here. Well, that's all I got for this one, guys. Take care. Go watch a movie.